Welcome back to the show. So normally I would let the video start playing first, but as soon as this video was starting, I can already tell you what's the problem. The power's out in San Francisco. The grid is done. The reason is sitting right here in front of you, electric cars. We have too many of them. And the grid was not designed for this type of usage. Our grid is over 130 years old, not just in California, all over the nation. People keep making this out to be a California problem, even though, yes, we have a piece of shit governor who is worried about kids being transitioned, kids who are abused, and kids who have mental issues. He wants to see more of that, but he's not worried about our infrastructure. They don't even have a word for maintenance in the Democrat language. Therefore, all of our systems are eventually will fail and buckle. In California, we've had this problem for years. The more people are using the grid, the more stressed out the grid will become. They're saying they're going to try to have the power restored for everyone by the morning, but even if they do, how soon before this happens again? We don't have the technology to turn off the grid and rebuild it and start all over again. That's why they're just fixing it as it goes. But these electrical cars and everything being on the grid is basically setting us up for failure. That's why we have to get away from electric. We cannot go all electric, because then they can just turn the power off and you're stuck. During the lockdown, I had the luxury of taking my electric car and driving to another goddamn state and getting out of there. But when there is no power, you're trapped. So let's go ahead and listen to this story. We're going to get back to with the comments.
Breaking news in San Francisco, where more than 100,000 PG&E customers are in the dark.
PG&E again. Remember the PG&E fires in Santa Rosa, about 45 minutes north of San Francisco? Remember the PG&E fires a couple years ago? That's a troubled company, and I don't even know why we're still dealing with them. They should have been replaced.
His crews struggle to find and fix a massive power outage coming as holiday travelers and revelers descend on the city. Here's a look at the PG&E outage map right now. You can see a red section covering what looks to be about a quarter of the city. That includes the Powell and Civic Center BART station.
Jesus Christ. So wait, if you were on the BART stopped. You were just sitting dead in the water in one of the most crime-ridden cities in the country. Remember, law enforcement cannot act anymore, especially if the criminal is black. So you're already at a disadvantage being there, and now you're in the dark, and the police are not coming to save you. This is a problem, huge problem. And this is prime real estate. It's along the water as well. So that's a lot of residential, a lot of commercial, a lot of industry, a lot of stores. People are going to lose their food. This is huge. It could spread. This could be any city in this country right now. We don't have an advanced electrical system anywhere, but yet we're talking about building huge data centers that's going to pull power, and that's making actually electricity more expensive for residents in the area because, high demand, low supply. And they're talking about just increasing the load on the grid, but there's never been anybody that proposed a budget that says, hey, here goes $100 million to update and to expand our electrical infrastructure. No one's talking about how to make it stronger, because you can't. Well, what are you going to do? Turn off all the power, tear it down? People need power. There is no time that we can just, we can't do a master reset where we just unplug it and then plug it back up. We can't take a few days or a few months to rebuild the grid. That's why we keep having to replace components. It's a very old and fragile system. If a terrorist came to this country and they just drove a car into a grid station and just ran over some of the power nodes, we'd be in the dark for weeks. They said if an EMP bomb went off and fried certain grids around our country, we'd be sent back 100 years overnight. And it would take us 15 to 20 years to rebuild the electrical grid because we're not going to have power. We would have to basically have all of our equipment running on batteries, but how are you going to recharge the battery? There's no electricity. We basically built a 15-story mansion on a box of matchsticks. And it's a pending problem that's eventually going to happen.
Now, all this happening on a very busy weekend for the city, people flocking to the city for last minute shopping or other holiday events. We are told traffic is one of the many things significantly impacted by this outage. NBC Bay Area's Tom Jensen is live in the city tracking the latest. And Tom, I understand you have news on what caused all this.
Good evening. Yes, Garvin, they believe it is linked to a fire here in the Soma 8th and Mission, a PG&E substation. We're hoping to get some definitive answers here. We talked to a PG&E spokesperson just a few minutes ago. She's trying to get some answers as well.
So they're trying to get answers. That means they don't know what or who hit our power station. They have no idea. Millions of illegals from other countries with no identification, didn't have to go through customs, were literally allowed to cross our borders. They're spread all over the country. And now we're having magical, all of a sudden, substations catching on fire, and there's no idea who did it, why, or even how it started. This is a problem. We have no idea who's here and what they're doing. But I know this. I was trying to charge my car at the mall in Glendale. It was an hour and a half wait for a stall to open. That many cars literally sitting on a grid that is 100 and something years old. That means that eventually this is all going to buckle. It's San Francisco today, but they're going to start talking to us about rolling blackouts. Nobody is going to want to be the person without power for X amount of hours. It's not something that's acceptable in a first world country, especially the United States. We have to limit the amount of electrical cars that can be on the road. We have to limit the amount of electrical cars that can even be owned, especially in California. We don't have the infrastructure to support this. People, they say, your parents used to say money doesn't grow on trees. Well, neither does electricity. It has to come from somewhere. And to get it to you requires power stations. Ours are old and outdated. They're not modernized, and no one's talking about upgrading and updating them, which is a huge security risk as well. Because with the power out, I mean, you got to think about it. Let the power be out of another 2 hours in California. They're going to start looting. They were looting when the power was on during the day. They don't care. There's not enough police to stop everybody. These stores, banks, anything that looks like it might be of value, people are going to start breaking into these places in San Francisco. You're extremely close to Oakland. They have a local homeless population. They have an extremely high crime population, and there's no enforcement of laws anyway. They don't prosecute criminals anymore unless you're a white male or unless you're a president. They're not going after you. So it could be no man's land if this isn't fixed. But when's the next one going to be? Or if people find out how easy it is to cripple our power grid, is this going to inspire a copycat to do the same to another grid station? I guess we'll see.
Firefighters are still on the scene investigating. However, they do believe that this widespread outage, reported to 130,000 customers at one point, was linked to this fire in the Soma neighborhood. At last report, the company did not have an estimated restoration time. They told us that was still the same just a couple minutes ago. Outages occurred here in the Sunset, Richmond, Presidio, Tenderloin, and the Mission, among other districts. It caused severe transit outages, including complete shutdown of Bart's Powell, Civic Center, and Van Ness stations. A spokesperson for San Francisco Fire said investigators are trying to determine the cause of the fire after firefighters knocked down the flames a couple of hours ago.
So the grid burnt up. Melted. They're going to have to bring parts in from probably another city or another state. I don't think this is going to, I think that's okay. Right now, Governor Gavin Newsom, that greasy piece of shit, that dude is missing. There's nothing on the news. He hasn't spoke out and said, dear my fellow Californians, we're experiencing a power outage. The first one that we've had since the San Francisco fires of the early 1900s. So they've never had this issue this bad. I don't think he's getting on TV because they don't know when they're going to have this fixed. They don't know. And for him to get on television as the leader, and when your leader's in the dark and don't know, that could increase panic. But him not speaking to the public, because if this was something about Trump, let the White House lose power. Gavin Newsom would be on the news going, oh, Trump, because he has severe TDS and he's vaccine injured, so he sounds a little bit like RFK Jr. now. But he would go crazy talking bad and trashing Trump. But here we are in California. What is it? One of my friends is bragging, the fourth largest economy in the world. And here you have a power outage, over 100,000 people in this city, in the dark. Businesses, the light rail stations, the BART station closed, in the dark, everything, power gone. And what this is telling us is that there are no backup generators. Do you know what that means? That means there's no safety protocol in case of an emergency. You're just asked out. Billions of dollars stolen, siphoned away from a budget to cure homelessness. And there's no money even to create a backup system for if there is a freak accident and the grid catches on fire. You talk about mismanagement, and you think this guy should be the president? Why? Because you hate Trump. You hate Trump so much that you let an idiot who has literally destroyed San Francisco, who's now the governor of California and has tanked California. You want him to now tank the United States because you hate Trump and conservatives? So because you're gay and you believe love is love, and you want to be able to love a 7-year-old child without going to jail, you would watch our country burn because you're a pervert. That's insane. And it just shows that we're not all the same types of Americans. Some of us want better for everyone, and a lot of us don't. And those who are supporting this Newsom run are the same people that will not care that there's no backup generators or no backup power system here in one of our largest American cities. This is insane.
After 2 p.m. this afternoon, we got a 911 call from employees of PG&E here at 8th and Mission Street for a report of a fire. When our units arrived on scene, we were met by PG&E employees warning us of a fire indoors of their PG&E substation. We did work together with PG&E to shut the power off to the substation completely to allow our firefighters to go in and use carbon dioxide to help control the fire. What that did was that helped suppress the fire in the area. And what we're doing now is we're working with PG&E to remove all the smoke and carbon monoxide to allow PG&E employees to go in there and remove some of the items that need to be replaced.
You can see the traffic lights are still out here at 8th and Mission. You've got police trying to control the traffic here at other intersections across the city where these outages are and the lights are out. Drivers have been using the honor system, but it has been a traffic nightmare. It took us about 2 hours to get from one side of the city to the other side to this location, just a couple of miles earlier today. And we're hearing about, like you said, Garvin, this was a big weekend. People out enjoying entertainment, dinners out, shopping, and the power went out in some very busy areas. And we're working on that part of the story, Garvin, for 11 o'clock tonight. For now, we're live in San Francisco. Tom Jensen, NBC Bay Area News.
We begin with breaking news in San Francisco.
Yeah, we're going to have to get used to this. We're going to have to get used to this. Matter of fact, let's see here. I was hearing that all the Waymos are out of order.
Because it's darker. You can't see the table, and now
you can.
Mm-hmm.
There's too bright.
There's good. It's battery operated. Battery up.
I don't know. I guess it's like bad signal. So in San Francisco, welcome Gate Park. Initially, 14,000 to 40,000 were affected, and PG&E were investigating equipment issues. At that time, they said no fire yet. Early afternoon, around 2:14, 2:16, PG&E employees inside of the Mission substation at 8th and Mission Streets, Soma, spotted smoke and called 911. Fire broke out on the first floor inside of the building. 2:30 to 3, San Francisco Fire Department arrives, declares a one alarm fire. They work with PG&E to safely.
Let's see if we can find the Waymos that are stalled. Here we go. All the electrical cars, the Waymos, they've all just stopped right where they were. As soon as the fire happened, they went out. So what that tells me is that all the Waymos are on one server, and that server's power source was attached to the substation that caught on fire. Remember, a lot of these tech companies are based in the Bay Area in the United States. So this is a lot of eggs in one basket. All of the Waymos have stopped moving. Now, you would think just because the power's out, the cars are still working, they have juice. But again, their navigation system and the network that they're on that manages them apparently was based in San Francisco. And who knew that a fire or the power going out could have caused this to happen? So now these Waymos are parked in the street, creating traffic jams because they're very narrow roads. You can't go around them because then you'll be going into oncoming traffic. And unless you have like a fleet of tow trucks, I don't know how they're going to get the Waymos out of the street. So this is another huge problem. Let's see here. Just literally just sitting in the middle of the road. I mean, I believe there's there's probably at least a good 100 of these cars on the streets of San Francisco. It could be more. It could be multiple hundreds. And they're all just parked. We cannot go full electric. We can't. That's the globalist plan for the country. Because once everybody's on the grid, well, then you can just turn everything off. Right now, you can't do it because, well, a lot of us have gas cars. We still get energy from other sources. We're not completely dependent upon electric. So you can't really hold us hostage, and we have a lot of energy independence. But again, we just had something like this happen in Texas, the freeze of, I believe that was 2021, where they were trying to use more renewable energy systems, and they failed. It was a catastrophic failure of all of those renewable energy systems plus the grid. And the power was out for weeks, and they had freezing cold weather. The sad part is it snowed in Dallas. So they had these, no one had electricity in entire neighborhoods in the city, but there were these places called hot houses where there would be one location that had power, and basically you could go there to get warm or to charge your phone. They called them hot houses. Sad part is this was in 2021. Do you know what they did to residents of Dallas, Texas? Even if you had no power and you wanted to come in to use the hot house, you had to let them give you a vaccination, or you had to have a vaccine card just to come into the hot house. And now, for a few years later, you see a black label on those injections that they force you to have just so you can stay warm. A lot of people don't talk about that. A lot of people kind of just want to memory hole every evil, despicable thing that was done during the lockdown. But you can't do that if someone like me is on the microphone. If you tune into me, I'm going to connect everything, and I'm going to remind you of the events between 2020 and 2026, 2020. I'm going to talk to you about everything, current events, the past, and where we're going. If we want to avoid this type of control, this type of basically this, because think about it. What if the powers that be, they want the power to go out, but they want more people on the grid? They know this is going to be a continuous problem. But now in the future, they'll be able to choose who's going to have power and who doesn't. And it can be based on your vote. It can be based on your support. It can be based on if too many people in your area had negative comments about Israel. It could be on whatever. But right now they can't, because We use gasoline. We have oil. Some people have their own private generators, but in a big city, you're not going to have that. And now San Francisco is pretty much being held hostage. But the only reason why I think Newsom isn't on the news and speaking to California people is because they don't know when the power is going to come back on for everyone. And they don't know if this is not going to be a continuing problem that's ongoing. So I guess Newsom's just not saying nothing, which is pathetic. But, you know, you have to be careful on who you choose to be your leader. You got to be careful about who you elect. Elections have consequences. If you're in California and you're dealing with the blackout, but you don't want to blame your governor, you still want to blame Trump, well, you have TDS. Do me a favor, share this video, like and subscribe. I appreciate it. We're all just going through this. Now, this is another creator that's putting these, that's doing videos about this. I wanted to play a little bit of his footage. Give me 1 second. There we go.
Most people are going to be fine. I mean, I wonder how long they're going to be without power, but you should try to have some type of supply in your house because you never know, man.
Nobody does. Nobody's prepared because we've been living the good life over here in the U.S. You know, you can just go to a grocery store. You know, it's crazy. I was talking to these Gen X kids, and I was like, well, what are you going to do if, you know, if they stop bringing, if you don't have any food in your house, what are you going to do? They're like, we're just going to go to the store. I'm like, yeah, but if the trucks are not delivering food to the stores, where are you going to get food from? And they were like, we'll just wait at the stores. Like, it's like they don't understand that someone has to package the food, prep the food, ship the food, unload the food. They don't understand how the chain of production works. They just think, you know, it's magic. You just walk into the store and voila, everything's there. They don't understand that there's an entire system. And, you know, you start replacing gas cars with electric cars. And what if they can't charge anymore? I mean, it's crazy. I have to sit at a Tesla charging station for 45 minutes to fill up my Model X. I have to sit there. That means I can't drive. I can't run. If people wanted to rob you, they could just walk up to your car at a Tesla charging station. It's like a huge security breach where you don't have any control. You can't even run. They can literally just walk up to you. You're a sitting duck. But they want the trucks that are on the road to go electric. They want school buses to go electric. But then you don't even have the capacity to keep the power on in the first place.
I could have a lot more. I really do need to kind of step it up, but I have regular candles, the battery candles, those battery out. Is that why there's no good signal?
Suspect has barricaded himself inside the building and refuses to leave. People have been evacuated from parts of the Palace Hotel. The standoff has lasted 5 hours so far. Hostage crisis negotiation team is on the scene, but so far, no headway.
We believe that due to the fact that it was a report of shots fired, that this person may be armed. And at this time, this person is not complying with our...
I wonder if that's still going on. They posted this 51 minutes ago. That's wild. I'm going to save this. We can look into this after. Just kind of curious. So what's going on with the guy in the hotel?
Find some silver lining when it comes to this atmospheric river that is moving our way. So
an update as soon as we got word of this power outage, we called PG&E.
It's crazy. No updates from the governor. No calls to the governor. No one's even mentioning his name. But he's supposed to be the person in charge of the state of California. This is bad. This is really bad. Because if a city like San Francisco can't shore up their electrical grid, then what are these smaller municipalities supposed to do? What does that mean for our other cities? It seems like this is just a ticking time bomb, just another exploit, another vulnerable exploit. There's no security system around our substations. There's no armed guards to protect them. Everything's just open and vulnerable. It's just that you would think that nobody would want to harm them because we all need the grid. But if you were sent to this country to create chaos and you were here to do a mission, well, then those would be the perfect places to target because we wouldn't be able to recover. I mean, it would take us months or maybe a year where there'll be certain places that will not have any electricity. And they said if we didn't have electricity in a big city for 72 hours, we would lose hundreds of thousands of people. Because, there's a lot of people in hospitals, people on ventilators, people on respiratory systems. They would all perish. Then there's no refrigeration, so all the food would go bad. The water treatment facilities they wouldn't work, so there wouldn't be any clean water. Actually, there wouldn't even be any water running to your home at all. So without electricity, millions of people would die within a month or two. That's the average. That's the average. Now, me personally, I always keep at least 15 gallons of water in my home at all times, just because you don't know what would happen if the power goes out. And that's always been a really big fear of mine. You have to think about that. You got to be considered. You got to be prepared. This is insane that this is happening in California, but it was predictable. Again, we don't have an adequate grid to sustain all of these electrical vehicles and all of these people that are just fully dependent upon electricity. We don't have what it takes to sustain that.
We have about 136,000 customers without power. What I'm asking everybody to do is to be safe out on the roads. A lot of lights are out. We are going to continue to keep you posted. All of our departments are coordinated. We are here at the Emergency Operations Center.
No, somebody in the comments said Governor Abbott was bad. Governor Abbott is one of our greatest American governors. The proof is this. We all moved to Texas. Millions of people moved to Texas because of Abbott. We left places like California and New York because they're Democrat ran. And we literally are refugees in a Republican red state. That proves it. If Abbott was bad, it would be people evacuating Texas and going to other places, but they're not. They're coming to Texas. So you're technically and evidentially wrong. You're incorrect about that. You're speaking from emotion because Abbott won't make any laws that says you won't be prosecuted if you touch kids. That's in California. You'd have to go to California. You guys don't like Abbott because he believes in law enforcement and they will prosecute pedos. That's the reason a lot of these people hate Trump. It's because of him talking about pedophiles, and they don't want people to be aware that that's a huge problem. I mean, he actually has, think about it. What do you think ICE is doing? Just going after illegals? And what do you think the illegals are up to? Where do you think they get their money from? They traffic women and children. That's why you guys hate Abbott, you hate Trump, you hated Charlie, because you enjoy those other activities. That's what I mean by we're not the same type of Americans. You have citizenship probably. Yes, you speak English, but you're not really an American.
As we learn more, we will get the information out to all of you. Stay safe, and we will continue to be in touch with PG&E. I want to give you an update as soon.
Let me try to put this guy on the screen because this guy looks like he's walking around San Francisco. But the place he's in looks like they have power. Looks like to me, I think, or three. It was here in South Florida. It was horrible, man. I wasn't prepared. I was younger too.
So these are emergency floodlights that are in this store, but the power's out. The power's out. And it looks like this is like the Target that's inside of the mall.
I was younger. What's wrong with this thing? And yeah, it was rough. I was eating all kinds of shit. I remember at one point my uncle offered me Spam. It's like, ugh, disgusting.
At 8th and Mission, which could be a factor.
And we saw 5 minutes of it, and then the power went out. And we sat there for about a half an hour, and it never came back open, and they said the show would be canceled. So we're all sitting out here now, disappointed.
PG&E.com says restoration is possible later today, but that is not confirmed. This is a developing situation, and we will provide
restoration.
I mean, San Francisco is already dangerous as is. California is a criminal's paradise. But if you include the loss of electricity and no light, so that means people know you can hide your identity and your odds of escaping from whatever you're doing increase. So violence could increase, robberies, break-ins, home invasions, but also breaking into these businesses because if the power's out, so is your alarm system. This is a lot of eggs in one basket. We're gonna have to divide up where we get our electricity, because just supporting, just depending on one source, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, it's wild. Monkey business.
$3,000 vamos a recaudar, Dios mediante, mañana.
Diablo, muchacho.
Eso viene pronto. Es el año que viene. ¿Dónde la tienes? En la calle Gaspar,
Either.
What are you doing in the
meantime? I might do some bar hoppings if anything is open.
Bar hopping?
Until the power is back.
As for when people could get their power back, PG&E is not confirming anything just yet. They said maybe tonight, but they don't want to give a definitive timeline just yet.
Brent Mama, thank you for the 28 months.
San Francisco, thank you so much.
There was also a fire at a PG&E substation this afternoon at 8th and Mission. It was well after the first power outages, which started at 9:40 this morning.
Wait. So they're inaccurately reporting this. So the power outages started before the power outage, before the substation caught on fire. This sounds like we were hit at two different locations. Whatever caused the initial power outage was one location, but then someone set fire within a matter of hours on the same exact day at another power substation in the city. You don't have two separate incidents in one day. Now I can see if they're saying, yeah, because one, there was a power outage over here because of a failure, and then this grid had to make up for it, tried to compensate, and it caught on fire. I don't think that's how it works. I think somebody deliberately started this fire, and we don't even know about. They're not even talking about the first one. They're pretending the power is out because of what happened at this second substation. But they're just now saying that the power was out before this substation caught on fire. And let's just be real, the electrical grid is electrical. How do you put out fire still in 2025? With water, same as we did 100 years ago. So you're going to have to drench that entire substation with water to put out the fire, then dry all the components and replace them. And you think they'll have that done by the morning? We don't even know what happened to the first place where the power went out. We don't even know why the power went out. They're not even talking about that. They're pretending that it's all about this one substation. Oh yeah, this is bad.
Fire was phoned in just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. They put the fire out, but it did seem to accelerate the number of power outages.
Interesting. Check this post out. This actually happened to me one time during a hurricane, like after the hurricane when the power was being restored. What is wrong with this thing? This guy said, Donnie, lights I see from my window during today's annoying San Francisco power outage. 130,000 households with no electricity since early afternoon today. And my place just happens to be on the very edge of the dark. Oh, no.
No emergency services. Your cell phone dies. You can't charge it. No phone. If someone comes into your house, or if someone's planning on doing something to you, you can't call for help. You're literally in the dark. And then you're in California. That means you're disarmed. You're just waiting. You're just a victim, just on standby. I don't think that's the way you're supposed to live as an American. That's why I moved to Texas. You want to be able to protect yourself in case of emergency. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to look up, I'm going to keep an eye on this story. I have another topic to go over, so I have to start another live, but I just wanted to bring this to you guys' attention, bring it to my audience. There's a huge power outage in San Francisco that does have the potential to spread. So like and subscribe, share the video, put me in the algorithm. If you can, come over to YouTube, The Single Boyfriend on YouTube. If you can come over from X, I'd appreciate it. And share these videos. I appreciate what you guys are being here. Remember, America first, America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.